The human brain is not fixed. It is not fragile. It is not a static piece of biology that life simply happens to. The brain adapts. It rewires. It strengthens. And under the right conditions, stress becomes the catalyst that transforms an ordinary mind into a warrior mind. In elite performance, the difference between those who break and those who rise is not luck, talent, or even physical power. It is the architecture of the brain forged through adversity. When stress strikes, the brain activates its ancient survival machinery. The amygdala fires first, sounding the alarm. Adrenaline floods the bloodstream. Heart rate spikes. Awareness sharpens. But this initial response is only the beginning. What follows determines whether stress becomes trauma or transformation. Inside the brain sits the prefrontal cortex, the command center responsible for logic, focus, decision-making, and emotional control. Under chronic stress, the prefrontal cortex weakens, shrinking in volume and losing influence over the emotional centers. But under controlled, intentional stress, the opposite happens. The prefrontal cortex becomes stronger, sharper, more efficient. This is the neurological foundation of discipline. Choosing the difficult path repeatedly strengthens the circuits responsible for willpower. This adaptation is powered by neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself based on experience. Every stressor you overcome creates new neural pathways. Every moment you choose composure over panic strengthens the connection between thought and action. Every exposure to discomfort teaches the brain that challenge is not danger, but opportunity. Over time, the operator's brain stops reacting to stress with fear and starts responding with clarity. Neuroscience calls this top-down regulation, when the higher thinking centers override the emotional alarms. Elite soldiers master this ability. They learn to keep the prefrontal cortex online during chaos, maintaining calm while others collapse into instinct. This is not genetic. It is trained. Inside the hippocampus, the region responsible for memory and learning, stress triggers the release of BDNF, a protein that acts like fertilizer for the brain. Controlled adversity increases BDNF, strengthening neural connections and improving resilience. This is why disciplined exposure to difficulty not only builds toughness, but improves learning, adaptability, and situational awareness. Meanwhile, the dopaminergic system, the brain's motivation circuitry, adapts to challenge. When you voluntarily face discomfort, dopamine is released not only after success, but during the pursuit itself. This rewires the brain to crave challenge instead of avoiding it. The warrior brain finds meaning in struggle. It feels alive in discomfort. It interprets fear not as a threat, but as a signal that growth is near. Repeated stress also reshapes the emotional brain. The amygdala becomes less reactive. It stops firing at every uncertainty. Instead, it learns nuance. It learns that breath equals safety, that composure equals control, that stress does not require panic. Through exposure, the emotional system matures. Fear becomes information, not domination. This rewiring is visible even in imaging studies. Operators show increased density in areas responsible for attention, impulse control, and decision-making. Their brains maintain coherence under pressure, a synchronized state where heart rate, breath, and neural activity align. This coherence creates clarity, presence, and razor-sharp situational awareness. But the transformation goes deeper than biology. The warrior brain develops identity-based resilience. When you repeatedly choose discipline, hardship, and responsibility, the brain forms a new self-concept. I am the type of person who endures, who adapts, who overcomes. Identity becomes armor. The mind stops negotiating with weakness because it no longer views weakness as an option. Even pain perception changes. Controlled exposure increases the brain's ability to regulate discomfort, raising the threshold where pain becomes a distraction. This isn't the removal of sensation, it's mastery over reaction. The stimulus remains. The suffering does not. In the field, this rewired brain is the difference between freezing and moving, between panic and precision. Pilots navigating emergencies rely on a brain conditioned to remain logical under extreme cognitive load. Operators under fire depend on neural pathways strengthened by years of controlled stress. Their brains do not collapse in chaos. They stabilize. They execute. In life, this ability becomes a form of internal armor. You respond, not react. You stay calm when others spiral. You endure stress without breaking. You see fear without retreating. You move toward challenge instead of dodging it. The warrior brain is not fearless. It is trained. And because it is trained, it is dependable. Zeroed In gives you insight that your brain is not your limit. It is your greatest weapon. Every cold exposure, every difficult workout, every disciplined act, every moment you sit with discomfort instead of running from it. These are not random challenges. They are rewiring protocols. They are how strength is built from the inside out. Stress does not weaken you. Uncontrolled stress does. But controlled, intentional stress, that is the forge. The warrior brain is not found. It is created. And once created, it does not break.